At Lydonia, what we do, or what we pride ourselves on doing, is to look at your processes, look at your current systems of work, and want to implement hyper-automation. What would be my hyper-automation is include multiple philosophies and technologies to be able to transform your operation to capitalize on your most valuable resources. And these are, of course, number one is people, and then time, because we all know that time is money and we want to save as much as possible and it's limited. And finally, your data, right? And to do that, we utilize AI, and specifically in this webinar, we're going to talk about Gen-AI, analytics, and in this case, it's going to be Alteryx and Auto Insight, and finally, automation, which usually involves some sort of RPA. Just a little bit more about me. I'm an automation consultant, and my role is specifically to apply that hyper automation to your processes. So we will look into the process, look into your tech stack, and look into the business processes and business units. And from there, we can see how we can implement hyper automation to achieve your goals, which we would talked about previously. All right, so let's set the scene and talk about what we have on today's event, right? When we talk about dashboards and business analysts, the ideal situation we want it to be is we have an analyst. They're tasked by creating a dashboard for a certain business need. Let's say we want to improve revenue. And then we create that dashboard, give it to our business users, let's say our operation team. They'll look at that dashboard and they'll come with immediate insights. Unfortunately, that is not the case. What happens is you get the analyst, they create the dashboard, it goes to the meeting with the business users, and then there will be an extensive back and forth, right? The dashboard needs to be more detailed. We want to look at different sector. We want to look at different stores. We want to have a different view, right? And that back and forth is very slow. It's not scalable. It's a lot of ad hoc reporting. You cannot just fix it by adding a lot of dashboards, because that's not a way of, you cannot solve it with numbers either by adding dashboard or analyst. And honestly, it only answers the question that the business users know to ask, right? It won't answer anything that is hidden, like a hidden insight, right? Or an eventual one. So how do we tackle that problem? So what Alteryx has is what we call Auto Insights. And what it does, it leverages Gen-AI to do data discovery. So you provide it with structured data, and what it does, it quickly services this insights and focus on what matters across the organization. And then in this example, let's say it's revenue, right? Let's say that showed us that the revenue has increased by 1% as shown here. It will also do what one of my favorite features is a root cause analysis. So yeah, okay, my revenue has increased, but why has it increased? And what are the main causes or drivers that made that KPI increase? Finally, it does all of that with a nice storytelling using natural language and leveraging the power of Gen-AI. Now, as I mentioned, usually what we need, the prerequisite for Auto Insights, is to have structured data. Now, if we have that structured data and we already have it, which is rare to find, we can just upload that data directly to Auto Insights and let it do its magic. If not, then Alteryx also has its flagship product, which is Alteryx Designer, and it's excellent, user-friendly software to do ETL, prep and blend, data enrichment, insight generation. And it's not only that, it also does predictive modeling, it does OCR, it does forecasting. So anything analytical you want to think of, it's capable within Alteryx Designer, and it's also add to it, it's very citizen developer user friendly. All right, so what are the tangible ROIs for using Auto Insight? So what we've seen, because of that, we're leveraging the power of Gen-AI to generate those dashboards. We're getting faster insights for business users, right? Instead of waiting for those ad hoc reports to be generated, you're just getting them themselves. And the business users themselves can generate these reports and can go and dig deep into these insights. There's a lot of less time spent between the business user and the analyst, between back and forth, just at the end to get a dashboard that's not 100% what we need. And what we've seen, that this resulted in better business outcomes, right? So we've seen 75% reduction in reporting time. We've seen much more efficiencies within the analytic team themselves. And of course, these resulted in increases in revenue and also cost saving, and also customer satisfaction increases across organizations. All right, let's look at some real life examples. So Auto Insight has been implemented so far by multiple organizations. One of the main ones you can see here are Microsoft, Unilever, and Suncorp. And also, not only has it been implemented across analytical teams, but also been implemented across sales teams. So global sales leads have been using it. Financial and tax controllers have seen uses for it, and also reporting managers. They've seen that them accessing the data directly instead of having the liaison and being to tell someone else to build these dashboards have seen a lot of good outcomes from it. Let's take a deeper look and look at the Microsoft use case for it. So it was used by the headquarters of Microsoft in North America. It's used for across multiple departments. And what was happening is that there was a lot of ad hoc investigations and dashboard creation that was tasked by the analytic team there. And what they wanted to do is leverage Auto Insight deployment is to basically have the sales and go-to-market teams be able to go and look up their own insights. So track up leads, track up their revenue, track up their forecasting all by themselves, and be able to get insights from there, and also use the what caused this to be able to see what are driving these KPIs. And from that implementation, Microsoft saw around 1.4 million cost savings, and also that was associated for around 60% increase in productivity. Right. So that was the part of the presentation where we were talking just an introduction on what Auto Insight, what Gen-AI does. But now let's actually take a look at the actual demo of Auto Insight itself. As I mentioned before, Auto Insights is a cloud platform, so you can access using your web browser. And there's two ways to get your data in. Either you have a CSV or you have a connection to a database, which could be a SQL, Snowflake, or Oracle. You can tap directly to that data and have it imported here to Auto Insights. And the nice thing that it gives you a key data requirement or best practices, like what we recommend to get the best from your data and to get the best insights. Once that's done, all we need to do is walk through the user guided steps here. And once done, you can extract it, and that provides it to you and have it open within Auto Insights. Now, the other alternative, which we're going to take a look at real quick, is using Alteryx Designer. So most of the time, we have our data coming from multiple sources. It needs some massaging, it needs some transformation, and we need to structure it and bring them all together into one data set. And then we'll be able to upload it into Alteryx Auto Insight using a uploader. Now, Alteryx Designer is very user-friendly and it's very transparent. So you can see every single step across the way of what we're trying to do here because it self-annotates and every tool tells you what exactly it's doing. For example, here we're looking at sales data, and then we're choosing the columns, and then we're grouping them by summary. So if you click on any of these tools, we can see that we have all the data here, and we have 1.9 million rows. And as you can see, it ran within 2 seconds, right? And now I can go through it and go exactly say what steps I'm doing. And it's basically just a prep and blend to get some output data into Auto Insights. But since this topic is about Gen-AI, so why not use OpenAI here to be able to summarize my worksheet for me? And this is the capability that Alteryx has with the workflow summary. And all I need to do is connect to my OpenAI account and run the workflow. I can run it for one workflow or for a directory that has multiple workflows, and it can summarize exactly the functionality of that workflow. So as you can see here, it gave it a topic. So it says this is about supermarket insights. And what is it doing? It's automating supermarket data analysis. And the summary of it is basically the workflow automates the analysis of supermarket data to provide insights. The key inputs are data files and key outputs are summarized data and a CSV file, which is actually what I have here. The logical steps include selecting specific fields. I've done right here on the blue steps. I joined some tables on the purple join table and then filter data and generate automated insights. So that's just tip of the iceberg on the capability that OpenAI has with integrating into multiple platforms and softwares. Now, once that's done, I'll have my data set ready for insights within Auto Insights itself. Let's go back to that and take a look on how that would look like. So once I open Auto Insight, I'll have my missions view. And missions is basically a collection of insights where I can go into my data set and see these insights depending on my measure. And the measure is basically the KPI I'm looking for, and we're going to select that. From there, I can create my own mission or my own insight, so I can manually go and select these views and create them. But since we want to talk about the power of Gen-AI, how about we use a template? So we have multiple templates. We have either a KPI deep dive report, we have an executive summary, and we have a correlation between multiple values. The correlation analysis could be something if I want to look at revenue and I want to look at cost and how are they linking between each other and what the relationship there. For an executive summary, I will look at all my measures. So I'm going to look at stuff like revenue, costs, time to close, and I'll have them all over on an overarching report. Or I can take one KPI or measure and look at that. For this example, let's take one KPI and look at it. So if I click on the template, I'll choose my data set that I just uploaded using Alteryx, and I'll select a measure. In this case, I want to look at my sales. I'll create the mission. So what that does, all of this is auto-generated, right? So it's telling me for the period between October and September, I've lost 9% in my sales, right? And the main reasons for that loss were in the groceries department, and it was for the age band between 25 and 35. It was mainly the state of Florida, and it was mainly cheese, right? So that's great, right? So if I go, I can see that page and I can see more details. So any user can interact with these data. So they can go and see a different timeline by moving this split there. They can go see the values and the main causes right here. And for example, if they're interested more about the commodities, they want to see what other commodities affected my revenue, they can go down and they can see all the commodities right here ranked right there. And they can sort to see that cakes were really sold back then. And then where we lost most revenue was in cheese. Now we can dig even deeper than that. So we can go drill down into commodities, and right here we can have a more of that storytelling, natural language conversation. And it's basically talking about the focus on commodities. So it's saying cheese, meat, and seafood, they contribute the most of the decline in sales. However, cake, so the largest increase, right? Interestingly, party trays, Christmas season, and all the other stuff saw a fast decline because it's not Christmas season, probably. And then you can click and see the others that has increased, the 99 other commodities. And we can click here and we can see them right there. It also discusses stuff like the largest increases it has seen, the largest decreases, and the top commodities. And also, if it sees an 80-20 principle, it's going to highlight that too, right? So for example, it's telling me that 65% of my revenue is only from 21% of my commodities, right? So maybe if I want to do a campaign or if I want to promote my commodities, I would rather focus on those 48 right here. Now, let's say I want to filter it and I want to look at a certain state. We can do that too. So I can go to states and say I want to look at the state of California, for example, and apply that. I'll be able to see that. I will give you that view. And once we see a view and we like it, we can just add it to our mission. And now we'll have that page in there in the mission itself right here. So we can keep having these pages. So I have a page comparing cities, and then I have another one looking at different states. Here it's pointing that California has the overall decrease. I can look at different departments. As you can see, it's interactive and it changes. And the beauty of it, every time the data refreshes, which you can have it refresh daily, the stories change and the interactions changes too from there. Now, once I have this report, or once I build this mission, I can do variable things to share it. I can either share it directly via a link right here, or I can send it via email, or I can subscribe customers so they, my organization or my team, so they can receive it every Monday morning. Or if I want it to be the first day of the quarter or the first day of the month, I can do that. Now, another great way of sharing it, which is one of my favorite ways of doing it, is Magic Documents. And what Magic Documents does, it just creates a PowerPoint presentation, emails, and messages using the same insights and data that we created using AI. For example, I can tell it to create a presentation to the marketing team to increase the sales across stores. I'd like it to include recommendations, and I want it to. I can even select the tone of voice I want. And in this case, I left it at witty. I can say from here, like, let's take a look at the department-wide sales breakdown. We can see the recommendation is review the marketing strategies of the grocery department or learn from the meat department success. So it clearly sees that we've done great when it comes to selling meat. So we might as well go learn from that. The same thing can be done to send an email. In this example, I want to send an email to the executive team. I can play around the variables. I can adjust the text length, and I can choose to include recommendation or not include recommendation. And this is like every week I've seen more options, more ways to be able to edit these variables to improve and enhance these documents. And finally, if I want to send even a text like over Slack or over Teams, I can do that too, and it will help me generate that for me. Now, for this example, I had some experience with revenue and sales and supermarkets, so I knew exactly like what data to bring in, and I knew that this use case is great if I want to increase my marketing. I need to look at like the sales, I look at the demographics and the locations. But let's say I'm part of the analytical team and I want to do that, but I don't know exactly what use case to look at and what data to gather, basically. And here comes Alteryx's newest feature, which was released just a week ago, and it's called Playbooks. And what Playbooks does, you give it a scenario. For example, I am a marketing manager trying to increase store sales, right? I want to try to replicate the case that we had before. And what's going to do is going to evaluate the job, which is a marketing manager. It's going to look at if I gave it a company name, it's going to look at the company name and look for any resource it has on it. It's going to look at the industry and discuss it's going to be stores. So it's going to be retail. And it's going to provide me with use cases on how to increase revenue. So it's going to give me multiple use cases. And then it's going to tell me what are these use cases going to do for me, right? So it gave me 4 use cases. These are the main use cases identified. It identified 4 more, but these are the more related ones. For example, it's going to tell me a use case where you do a promotional campaign analysis is going to be great. Another one is to do the same analysis, but for the product performance. And another one is customer behavior. And finally, store performance. For this case, let's pick the product performance and we click on see reports. And it also tells me that what is this use case going to help me with? So in this case, it's going to help me with increasing product sales and optimize inventory purchases. Now, the nice thing about this is going to create a synthetic data. So it's going to go create a data that you would actually collect from your stores. And I will show it for you. So to help you build this proof of concept, to build that use case for you. For this specific use case, it's going to identify which products are most popular and inform inventory and marketing decision based on that, right? So it's going to analyze the sales data to determine which products sold the best in my stores. And then it's going to guide the inventory purchases and marketing efforts focusing on the popular items to drive those sales, right? And maximize your revenue. The key benefits are also listed there. It's basically, of course, the way we want to increase product sales, which will optimize inventory purchases and improve our marketing effectiveness. The first step is creating that data set. And once that's complete, we can go and take a look at that data. And the nice thing about this, that makes data gathering way easier. So I can target those sources so I can get that clean data set that's going to help me develop and build my use case. And we can now view the data. And as you can see, it's like transaction IDs, transaction date, product SKUs. It's going to look at store location and sales associates. It's going to look at time of the day and quantities, right? So typical data to look at when you want to do a product performance analysis. And it also gives you like the description of those columns, and it tells you an example value. So it makes it way easier for us to go and target these data and get them from our databases, right? Once that's done, it's going to give me example reports for that use case. So we can have a report where it looks at product sales overview. We can look at specific stores and see their performance. We can look at sales trends, and we can look at customer purchase behaviors, right? Let's say I'm targeting sales managers and regional managers and store managers. So I want to generate a report for them. So to do that, I'm going to click on the store performance analysis, and I want to do it on a monthly basis. So it's going to generate a report that looks at that data on a monthly basis. And what it does is basically analyzes the performance of each store, and it includes metrics such as total sales, average transaction amount, and number of transactions. As you can see, this is like, let's say I'm an analyst that had no idea how marketing works or sales works. It still gives me an idea to be able to target this and make it way easier from an analyst perspective. Now, from a business user perspective, that also makes it easier because I'm not sure what data to collect. I'm not sure how to build that report and how to format it or how to make it look in a meaningful way. This is all can be done with the help of Playbooks. It'll be like my personal assistant to help with all these analysis. I just need to log in real quick again. And there you go. So similar to the report I've seen before, it created this synthetic report to prove our use case, right? So we're looking at transaction amount. We can see how transaction went down by 56%. And it's mainly at nighttime, which makes sense. Usually in supermarkets, you see more traffic during the day. Books have been going down. It's a specific brand B, and location D in the store with the associate D. We've seen the lowest decreases, right? And then we start looking at specifics like sales by each store. We can see that location D, so the largest decrease. And then we can look at different variables such as average transactions and number of transactions by store. Now, the beauty of this, once we see this example or this synthetic POC, we can see that we can utilize this format and be able to put our own data into it, right? So we can put our own data that we gather, and this will populate and create our own reports, and we don't have to start from scratch, right? And it will make it way easier for us, and it will be more guided, and it will be much more simpler, and it will be able to have business users to be able to do all this, to be able to gather the data, be able to transform the data, put the data into other insights, and then leverage the power of Gen-AI to come with these insights and this reporting. I'd like to thank everyone again for their time, and please let me know if you have any questions or asks.
Hey, Ali, we did have a couple questions come in. So one of them is, does my team need specific skills to upload data?
Good question. So not really. So because as you've seen with Alteryx Designer, all you need to do is either utilize Alteryx Designer, which is very user-friendly, and you can access these data with click of a button and with drag and drop tools, or you can simply, if you have a CSV file or connection to a database, you can connect that through the portal, which is on a web browser.
Right. So it's basically democratized. Anybody can use it.
Exactly. It's built with citizen development in mind as a priority.
All right. Let's see. We had another one here. How does Auto Insights fit alongside my other business intelligence tools?
Again, excellent question, because a lot of times we come across that how does Auto Insight compete with stuff like Power BI and Tableau? And the answer is it doesn't really. It's complementary, because you'll still have your monthly reports and your quarterly reports where you're going to generate with Power BI and Tableau, which is more specific and complex. But what Auto Insight helps with is the ad hoc reporting and the ability to have business users to go on demand and be able to access these insights on these data discoveries.
So not a replacement for BI tools, basically.
And yeah, and it's a complement. And the biggest example is that Microsoft is one of the early adopters of Auto Insight itself. And of course, Microsoft has Power BI.
Yep. All right. What size data can Auto Insights handle?
So that's always been increasing. And it keeps going up and up. So when it comes to CSV, just for load times, it's a 2 gigabyte data capacity. But when it comes to database, we recommend 10 gigabytes. But this has been going to be improved with later release dates, and it's going to be increased to more than 10 gigabytes. But for the best practices and recommendations right now, we're looking at 2 gigabytes for CSVs and 10 gigabytes for databases.
All right. Question, how do you compare against Salesforce?
Sure. So when it comes to Salesforce, it's more of a CRM software. And what Auto Insight does, it integrates with Salesforce the same way Tableau integrates with Salesforce. So basically, you get all the information from Salesforce, you extract those, and you feed them directly into Auto Insights. And then you will get the ability to utilize Gen-AI and be able to utilize those interactive dashboards to look into your data that is within Salesforce itself.
Can data sets be merged in Auto Insights?
Datasets can be merged in Auto Insight only if you use a database such as Oracle, SQL, or Snowflake. You'll be able to use SQL statements to do that. And if you would like to merge them any other way, you can simply use Alteryx Designer to do it there easier.
So it just sounds like it's pretty easy to use, no matter what part of the business you're in. You don't have to be technical.
Yeah, and that's the theme that has been going for the last few years, is basically empowering citizen development, right? And with the up and coming of AI, it's basically that's the focus. We want to have everyone be able to access the data within the organization within their right privileges, and be able to utilize and achieve the company goals and organization goal within that.
Analytics for all.
Exactly.
Another question is there a mobile app version of this as well?
Unfortunately, there is none yet, but I'll follow up to that question, and I'll let you know as soon as there is one.
How do I manage data quality?
So for data quality, as I mentioned before, for Auto Insight, that would be a personality of the user themselves to manage it. So we would need to provide structured data to it. So if you happen to have those structured data, we can feed it directly. If not, we can utilize Alteryx Designer to be able to improve the quality of our data.
Is there a free trial offering? Is there a way to kind of test drive this?
Oh, yes, definitely. So if you head to Alteryx website, there is a trial for Auto Insights and for the whole cloud platform. And part of the cloud platform for Alteryx is Auto Insights. So you'll be also exposed to multiple other citizen development friendly tools such as machine learning and Cloud Designer.
Awesome. And we'll actually follow up this webinar with an email, and we'll link to that free trial as well. More questions coming in here.
That's
What
great.
is the best way to get started?
So when it comes to Alteryx, they do a very, very good job with their community. So if you go to community.alteryx.com, there's multiple learning paths. There's the forum itself, and Alteryx has around 400,000 plus users, and they're all customers that are very passionate about the product. So with the combination of the forums, the learning path, and the trials, and the instructor-led courses, there's honestly a plethora of ways to be able to get started. So I would start from the community page.
Yeah, and I know actually the user group community is pretty active within Alteryx as well. And there is a user group meeting, a virtual meeting this afternoon at 4:30 Eastern that we're actually also participating in as well. So that's going to be a demo discussion around RPA and APA together.
Yeah, and you can, as always, definitely come to us, Lydona and me. I'll be more than happy to help you with anything when it comes to Alteryx or automation in general.
That's right. Well, that's all the questions for today. So thank you again for joining. Thank you, Ali, and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.